Hi, I'm Mike Sinello, and I'll be your Zoom meeting administrator for tonight's Town Council meeting. The meeting will begin at 7 p.m. Eastern. Before the meeting starts, I've put together this brief instructional video to help you get better acquainted with the Zoom meetings platform and how this virtual Town Council meeting will operate. Before we get started, we would like to kindly ask non-council participants to please keep your audio and video muted throughout unless called upon. As you are brought into the meeting, for example, from a waiting room, you will have the momentary ability to unmute your video. We kindly ask that you refrain from doing so, and each participant's video will be manually muted upon entry, one at a time. If you do not want to see non-video participants, hover your mouse over a non-video participant's video image. Click these three dots highlighted in blue and select Hide Non-Video Participants. If you want to see all the councilmen at the same time, rather than focusing only on the person who is speaking, select Gallery View in the top right corner of the viewing panel. If you would like to participate in public comment, you must first raise your hand, and you'll be added to the list of public comment participants on a first-come, first-served basis until the meeting's commencement at 7 p.m. When we say raise your hand, we don't mean literally hold your hand up to the camera. To raise your hand, first make sure the participants panel is open at the right of your screen. You can open the participants panel by clicking the participants icon at the bottom of your screen. Once the participants panel is open, to raise your hand, select Raise Hand in the bottom right corner of the participants panel. For telephone-only participants, to raise your hand, press *9 on your telephone touchpad. I will be taking names for public comment as soon as this video finishes, and at the mayor's request, we'll be calling on participants for public comment on a first-come, first-served basis. Once you're called upon, I will send out a request to unmute yourself, as you will be self-muted upon entry. To unmute yourself in desktop, click the unmute icon in the bottom left corner of the viewing panel, and which looks like a microphone with the red slash through it, or simply select unmute in the request message. For telephone-only participants, press *6 to mute or unmute yourself. Once you've been unmuted for public comment, you'll have 5 minutes to address the council. Time will be kept by the acting sergeant at arms, who will alert you when you have 1 minute left. When your time has expired, the sergeant at arms will let you know, and I will then mute you at either the mayor's request or at the request of the sergeant at arms. I will only act upon their instruction throughout the meeting and will neither mute nor unmute except upon entry any participant otherwise. For the record, as a Zoom meeting administrator, I will not be an active participant in the meeting. This means once the meeting is started, my camera and microphone will be muted unless otherwise called upon by either the mayor or the sergeant at arms. The final request before this video ends is to please be aware of your surroundings. Please be aware of background noise, such as dogs barking, children yelling, or a nearby fan blowing, visible background activity, and potential feedback from your microphone picking up the sound from your speakers. It is for this reason that we highly recommend the use of headphones. Thank you for watching. The meeting will begin at 7 p.m., and if you would like to participate in public comment, raise your hands now and do not put them down until called upon for public comment after the meeting has commenced. Okay, then. Let me get my video switched back. All right. So I have 4 names up so far. I'm going to read them off in the order that I saw them get raised. So that would be Diane's iPad.
Mike, I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt your video. Lisa was the first person on, then
Okay.
Diane, and then
Lisa,
Ian.
Diane, and then I have Mike, Grover, and Lucy.
Ian was the third person.
Who is Ian?
I'd like to be added to that too, please, Mike.
Okay.
Okay.
Ian, are you still with us? He was on an iPad. Maybe he left.
I don't see an Ian or an iPad. I see an iPhone.
No, he was on his son's iPad, he said. Well,
Okay.
he'll come back, I guess.
Ian, if you are in the chat, if you could, are in the Zoom meeting, if you could raise your hand, if you'd like to speak, we would be happy to add you to our list.
Good evening, Katie.
Hi, Walter. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Hi, Walter.
Jimmy's in the Jones.
Hi. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Happy New Year, Walter.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I see Ian. Okay. And Mike Groover has, I guess that was the same person. It must have been. Kathy's iPad. All right. So the order I have is Lisa, Lisa Arisam, Diane's iPad, and then Ian 3. And I have Lucy 4. Mike Gold, I have you as 5.
Thank you.
We're just about a minute to go here. So last call to raise your hands to get on the list for public comment.
Evening, Stephanie. Happy New Year.
Hi, Mr. Bear. How are you?
Good. Happy New Year, Stephanie.
Thank you. Same to you. Miss you.
Yes, I miss you guys. Yes, I do.
So I've got Katie, Chris, Tom, Dave, Mike Nahill, Mike Gold, Walter, and Mary Jane. Am I missing?
Doug is away.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor.
Hey, Katie, how are you?
Good. And I see we have Alabama with us.
I was noticing that.
Yeah. Who's Alabama?
Something about a crimson tide.
Yes, I heard that, but there's a person on with an ID
Oh,
of
a
Alabama. Oh, you can't see it, Walter. Alabama.
Okay. Randy's coming in. So I just got to tell him something real quick and then we can hand it over to you, Pete. Tell him the
Okay, thank you,
obligatory.
Mike.
Is there some football game on tonight, Mr. Mayor?
I think so.
I think there may be one on.
Okay,
Go
Randy.
Buckeyes.
Randy, I'm going to send your nightly invitation to unmute. You don't have to accept it until you feel like you need to. All right. So last call, we got Lisa first, Diane second, Ian third, Lucy fourth, and Michael Gold fifth. And that leaves us with 5. Last call to get those hands raised. All right, Pete, 7 o'clock. Meeting is yours.
Thank you, Mike. If we could all stand for the pledge. And Mr. Cosgrove, could you lead us to the pledge, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America,
And to
and
the
to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty,
and justice.
and justice for all.
For all.
If we could have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces. Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who died Thursday from injuries, and Officer Howard Linengood, who committed suicide on Saturday, who had been on duty Wednesday. May their memories be eternal. Thank you.
Okay, so Pete, real quick, we had one name and we have one hand raised that was raised basically as you were getting started. Do you, we want to add Hillary Ram as number 6?
Absolutely.
All right, that's what we will do. Diane, I'm going to
Thanks,
send
Mike.
you, Diane, I'm going to send you an invitation to unmute.
I believe I've unmuted.
You
Yes.
are correct.
Okay. This is Diane Clafe, not Diane's iPad. And my address is 25 Candlewood Shore. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I was recently appointed to the Riverfront Revitalization Committee, and we have been familiarizing ourselves with our charges throughout the town. We've taken a couple of walks here and there, and this past Saturday, we walked through the proposed river trail area, which is not part of our purview, but the river trail will hook into the river walk that has been completed down on the Housatonic, and it will link Sega Meadows Park all the way through New Milford, the length to Brookfield eventually. It's a huge project. It's going to be probably not completed in my lifetime, I would imagine. But we took the walk with an eye towards how I've lost my place. An eye towards how it might enhance the riverfront revitalization charge. with an eye towards economic development, how we can attract business to our downtown, to our stores and our restaurants, bringing tourists into town. We have an awful lot of history that is available for people. We were shocked by what we saw on our trip. It was really, really wonderful and a very eye-opening. And it will also bring, of course, tourists to our town. So I see an awful lot of synergy between the proposed trail and what we're doing on riverfront revitalization. So I wanted to say that I see on your agenda that you have a conversation later this evening about Medenstill and some tax issues. In my opinion, this is a perfect opportunity to have a conversation with Medenstill to see if they own land about a mile or a little bit more than a mile going from Saga Meadows all the way to underneath the railroad trestle in front of Medenstill. It's not a huge amount of land, but it's a mile long. And it would aid us greatly in linking Saga Meadows to closer to the downtown. We still have some areas to worry about, like Helen Marks Park and that sort of thing. There's houses that are in the way. We can do some stuff, sharing the road with share rows and things like that. But I think this would be a perfect opportunity when you're discussing Medenstill later tonight to consider that as part of your deliberations with that company. As a taxpayer and a member of the Board of Finance, the cost of the river trail is really scary. Honestly, it's very scary. But my hope is that funds will not be raised by taxes, but they will be raised by other means, and perhaps through grant opportunities. We might have to, share the grant funding through the town in some way. But this is not something that anyone expects to get done soon. But the more that we keep our eye on the ball, I think the smarter we would be, and this would be a great time to do it. So just wanted to urge you to consider this to be an excellent time to discuss it with Medenstill, and also to keep thinking of creative ways to bring this trail to fruition. And I thank you all for everything that you do. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay,
Lisa?
before we move on real quick, Greg, I'm going to send you your unmute invitation like I always do, just like with Attorney DeBella. You don't have to accept it if you don't want to right away. All right, so Lisa, your invitation is sent.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Thank
Lisa.
you for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Lisa Arison. I'm at 8 Broadview Lane. I'm here tonight with the New Milford River Trail Association. I'm one of the co-founders and the chairman. And my understanding is that tonight Town Council will be discussing in an executive session a settlement with Medenstill, which I know has been years in the making. I ask that during those discussions, you take into consideration the need for an easement for the New Milford River Trail through the Medenstill property. That section of trail represents approximately 1 mile of the 8 left to build. New Milford currently has a grant from DEEP to design that section of trail, which needs to be complete by September of 2021. Once the design is complete, the town will be able to seek funding to construct that section of trail. Without an easement as part of the settlement, an easement or, God forbid, eminent domain would be needed in the not too distant future, which could prove costly for the town. For newer town council members, I just wanted to take a moment to explain the importance of the New Milford River Trail. It's more than a trail, it's actually a greenway that provides, in one word, connectivity. Connectivity of our beautiful rivers to the downtown area, connectivity for residents in southern New Milford to the downtown area without traveling along Route 7 or Grove Street, connectivity for Brookfield residents living in the Four Corners area to New Milford. In fact, I have to leave this meeting shortly because I'm participating in the Still River Greenway Committee meeting tonight. They're very anxious and motivated to connect with New Milford at our border because their trail has been so popular, and 25% of those people using that trail, by the way, are coming from New Milford. The Greenway also provides connectivity for residents in northern New Milford to the downtown area. It connects several local parks like Helen Marks Park, Youngs Field, Bulls Field, Volunteer Field, Pickett District ball fields, the ball fields across from Medenstill, the John Pettibone Fields, the Creative Playground, Harrybrook Park, and Lover's Leap. It also connects to schools, to local businesses along Pickett District Road and Route 7, as well as the historic Green. It connects with nature at Native Meadows, Hidden Treasures, Nature Conservancy property, and the Northwest Connecticut Land Conservancy, formerly known as Weotenog Land Trust. It connects to the community center. It connects to our past by providing opportunities for educational signage about our Native American agricultural and industrial heritage, all of which relied on the rivers. It also provides an economic boost to our struggling local businesses by becoming a destination. It provides health benefits for residents looking to safely walk or ride a bicycle, either for recreation or to get to work. It also is part of a larger regional effort for trail connectivity for which federal and state money is available. So in conclusion, if an easement is not included in the settlement tonight, and I have no idea if it is or not, I just ask that town council remember that if we don't pay for it, if it's not included tonight, there will be a cost for that in the future, or there needs to be a plan in place to make sure that we have access to the property for the construction of that section of Greenway. Thank you for your time. Oh, one other little note, if anyone ever wants a tour of the proposed trail, I'd be happy to give it with pleasure. Mayor has my contact information. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, my apologies to Lisa for screwing up that order. Mike or Ian, here is your invitation.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mike.
And thanks for the opportunity to speak. Wow, all I have to say is wow about what Lisa just said. She basically covered all the bases I would like to bring up.
Mike, can you give me your full name and address, please?
It is Michael Groover, and I live at 38 Burnham Road, New Milford. As I was saying, I really just wanted to reiterate what Lisa had to say. She brought much more information than I even knew. I also am here representing the New Milford River Trail. Been a resident of New Milford for over 10 years. Was really pleased to see when the trail was created, when the river was opened up by downtown with the Youngsfield River Walk. And I'm really excited to see the trail expand and to see us connected to Brookfield. And I just hope that the town takes into consideration the easement aspect of this Medenstill property. It's pretty much a vital part of what's going to create this huge greenway that's going to go from Canada all the way down to the Long Island Sound. It just is in a grand scheme of things. But more importantly, in our town, it's just going to be a vital part of connecting this trail to the region and connecting all these beautiful sites in our town. I just hope that the town council takes into consideration that this easement is a vital part of this settlement that is being negotiated with Medenstill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, Lucy, here is your invitation.
Good evening.
Evening, Lucy.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. My name is Lucy Wildrick. I live at 6 South Main Street. And I am also interested in speaking tonight to the Medenstill settlement. And I know it's been a long, no doubt difficult negotiation that you'll be happy to put behind you. And I personally don't have much information on its details, but the potential of receiving in return for forgiveness of some tax dollars owed an easement to accommodate the river trail plan for this area is of vital interest to me. My husband and I moved here to town 7 years ago, and pretty much right off the bat became involved in the River Trail Association, and I later volunteered to become a member of the Riverfront Revitalization Committee. And my intent in becoming involved in both organizations was to participate in efforts that would bolster the long-term viability and vitality of this town, and particularly of the downtown and the green, of which we're all so very proud. The value of the river trail has been, is an example of a vision that in other communities has been proven to be both magnets for local residents and for folks outside the community that yield significant economic benefits, both directly in expenditures, but also in increased property values. Implementing a vision like this takes years. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not going to be easy. It requires real commitment on the part of the town's elected officials to make sure that an effort like this continues forward. The Meadenstill property, as has been noted, encompasses about a mile of riverfront that would connect Sago Meadows and approach the downtown Riverwalk. And it seems to me that at this point in time, the town is at the point of greatest leverage in achieving that easement connection. If it's not achieved now, it will no doubt come at greater cost and in the future. And as Lisa indicated, and Diane also, nobody wants to see a lot of town dollars put into something like this, although personally I feel that it's an investment that pays off over time. But when you have an opportunity like this where you're making a deal, being able to extract from that deal something of this significant importance seems to me to be really the right thing to do. And ultimately, as we look at the entire length of the river trail, this is the kind of thing that we need to put our arms around, is the serendipitous opportunities that might approach, whether it's a tax negotiation or a sale of a property or whatever it might be, where you can gain control over a piece of property that helps put the whole together. I trust that you guys all understand the value of this, and I'm hopeful that at this moment we can help put this piece in place. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Lucy.
Okay, next up on my list is Michael Gold.
Yes, thank you, Mike. I'm not speaking as a councilman, but as a New Milford resident. My address, Stephanie, is 3 West Meeting House Road. I just want to take a minute and congratulate Pete and his team, Mike Crespin, and all the people that have to do with keeping us safe during these uncertain times, from the pop-up testing to his weekly letter to all this stuff that you're doing. Pete, you're doing a great job, and I think you should be applauded for that. It's just been a tremendous help for us businesses here in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Hillary, you are up next. Here is your, oh, things are bouncing around on me. Here is your invitation.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Hillary.
Okay. Hi, it's Hillary Ram. I just wanted to correct the spelling of my name on the minutes from last meeting. So it's HILARYRAM at 24 Little Bear Hill Road. And I also wanted to speak tonight in support of the river trail. I've been hearing everything has really been said, but I just wanted to emphasize the economic benefit to our local businesses. I saw what it did for Millerton, New York. When I used to live in Sharon, the rail trail brought just an economic boom to that town. So looking forward into the future, I can see this as a real draw to bring residents and tourists into our local downtown area. and really help our local businesses. So I'm just in support of everything that I've heard tonight. And I just encourage the council members to advocate and fight for this in tonight's discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hillary.
Okay, so Joe Croanta did raise his hand at around 7:15. Do you guys want to continue to open the floor?
It's a
Up
little
to the
late now.
council.
I couldn't make that out.
I have
So-
no objection.
I'm fine.
Okay, then that's what we'll do. Joe, here's your invitation.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Evening, Joe.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. There's a couple of reasons why I wanted to attend tonight. First off, I'm not sure how many of you participated the yellow ribbon cutting on the New Milford Green. But I wanted to just talk a second about a member of our community that I thought expressed some significance in their life with the achievement of a Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. Her name is Chrissy Nichols. She comes from the Tuz family here in town, which has been a family in town for a very long time. And Christina, in a short amount of time, 12 years to be exact, attending the United States Air Force, not only achieved Master Sergeant, but she did that while being a mother and a husband to her family. She has 4 children. I think that was a pretty significant achievement, and I want the town council to take an opportunity just to recognize that that achievement. I think it was a pretty great one.
Nice.
So that's the first reason. The second reason is I wanted to talk a little bit about the river trail. So as you know, many of you know, I have a piece of property just beyond Beddenstill, right along where this river trail will be installed. I think all of you probably know already that both myself and my wife and my family are obvious proponents of recreational activity, and we're absolutely in favor of the river trail. I think it would be a wonderful thing for our community, especially in times like these where we're encouraging folks in the community to get outside and participate in outdoor activities with their families. And it is an economic boost to our town. It does draw a lot of people. I can tell you that it draws a lot of people because I am right at the head of Sega Meadows Trail. And on any given weekend, that parking lot is filled with cars. People are enjoying the trail, riding their bikes. And quite frankly, a lot of them come to our farm stand, and we really appreciate that. The couple of concerns that I have in all of this is that last year or the year before, I kind of lose track of time here, but I sat in on a few informational meetings as they related to this trail, and the numbers were, boy, they were extravagant. I mean, I think it was somewhere around 18.5 million to install a trail here in town. And I know we're just talking about the north portion of that trail. So one of the obvious concerns I have is with the finances that are involved in something like this. A couple of the other concerns that I have is I want to just make sure that if this is something that the town really wants to move forward with, which I think it's a great thing, we dot all our I's and cross all our T's, because, there is an impact on the local community where the trail will be. I do have neighbors up there, and we do, talk about the trash and, the parking of the cars and things like that. Another thing that kind of popped into my mind in all of this is it's hard for me to think about even having this conversation because, being on Boardman and paying attention to what goes on, a lot of the people, well, let me back up. One of the very first things that we talk about or have talked about in the plan of conservation and development has been making New Milford a destination, right? So in the process of making New Milford a destination, we have all these beautiful parks. Well, guess what happened? COVID came, right? It's not the greatest of situations, but what did it do inadvertently? It made New Milford a destination, what we've always wanted. And now what we've done is anyone that comes to town and parks their cars at our parks, we told them that's counterproductive, gentlemen. it's counterproductive. What we need to really come to terms what it is that we're doing. We want this to be a destination. We want people to come here from outside our community so that they shop in our stores. They come to Joe's Farm Stand. They go to downtown and have meals. They take advantage of our parks. We can't tow their cars. So I really want you guys to think beyond just acquiring a piece of land from Evansville to put the trail in. There's a bigger picture here. We need to, one, decide what it is that we're doing. Are we towing cars, or are we putting in a river trail so that people from outside of our community can come here and enjoy our town and support our economics? So that's really the couple of things that I wanted to lay on you, and hope that you'd pay that a little attention tonight in your decision making. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. So there is one, I guess, last hand raised that was raised towards the end there. Kathy Hagedorn. I don't know if you guys want to continue to have the floor be open here.
We're at 7:24 now. I
This
hate
is not
to,
my decision. This is your
I
decision.
know that. I'm saying it to my fellow council members. Sorry,
People
Mike,
should,
you can hear
people
it.
should sign up prior to the meeting.
I have no objection. I think if they take the time to sign up and speak, they should have the right to speak.
Well, then we all have to talk about changing our public comment, but she's the only one. Then I have not any reason for her not to say anything. It's just that we are, this could go on forever. So
So not to interrupt, but I thought we had a policy that they could come on at the end of the meeting if they wanted
Yes.
to
Yes.
participate too. So
yes,
I mean,
that's true. But if she's wants to speak,
I honestly, I could have swore I saw her hand up way earlier, but I might be wrong there.
so wherever she is, that's fine. I just want to say that, out loud, not so somebody doesn't think we're talking about it in secret.
Okay, so my direction has to come from somewhere. It's either going to be Pete or the acting sergeant at arms. Somebody has to tell me what to do.
So the council's pleasure to open up the mic.
Or Kathy.
Yep.
Whoever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike, please open the mic.
All right, that's what I'll do. Kathy, here you go.
The list is closed. Go to
Yeah,
close,
last
right?
one. It's going to be a long meeting.
All right, here we go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Hagedorn at 57 Sullivan Farm.
Hi, Kathy.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm very happy to be a property owner and a member of the community here in New Milford. The Milford River Trail is near and dear to me. It was one of the first ways I connected with the community. So it's really important to me that you all consider the opportunity in short-term and long-term planning for how the New Milford River Trail can support the economy. I manage a nature center up in Sherman, Connecticut. It's 850 acres with 15 miles of gravel trails. People come there from all over the state of Connecticut as well as New York, and especially during the pandemic, we've had such a successful year. So I feel like the New Milford River Trail really can be part of a keystone or cornerstone of the riverfront revitalization. People go out, they recreate, they spend their money, and it's a really important aspect of our town from a health and safety standpoint, as well as part of our history. So I really hope, again, when we have the opportunity to make a decision or think about the opportunity with the Medenstill easement to be part of any decisions or settlement, I hope that we can think short-term as well as long-term. And I commend someone else earlier for speaking, Joe, about thinking about long-term planning and what the costs are. I'm a nonprofit manager, so I feel like thinking about running the town, Mayor Bass, I know everything's important, but the New Milford River Trail really has a huge opportunity here. So thank you again for your opportunity. And just for a note, Michael and Chris, I was raising my hand in the wrong place. I was raising that under the icon. So thank you, Katie, for that opportunity. Thanks for your consideration. Please do all you can to support this going forward.
Thank you for participating.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right, that closes public comment. Meeting's yours.
Okay, next,
All
Katie.
right,
Consent.
item number 3, consent agenda. I move to accept items 3A, B, C, and D on the consent agenda.
Second.
So I have a comment on the minutes.
Me too.
Okay. Chris first and then Mary Jane.
So for me, I would go to page 9 of 18, paragraph 9, the last sentence. And it was a comment for me, but I would replace the word any with a lot, which is what I actually did say in terms of the opposition to the project, where I felt a lot of the opposition was political. Well, it was the minutes say any, which means to me all, and that's not what I said or meant. So
On page
a lot.
9, I'm sorry, Chris, I'm just looking at page 9, paragraph what?
Page 9 of 10, paragraph 9. So the third from the bottom.
Oh, he felt any opposition to this project was politics. You would
Right.
like it to say he felt what?
A lot, which is I
A
went
lot.
went
Okay.
back to the video, and that's what I actually said.
Okay, so a lot of this was politics.
Right.
Okay.
Mary Jane?
So Hillary Ram had mentioned she wanted her name spelling corrected. So Stephanie, if you can correct that in the minutes. And then also when I did look at the minutes, Adrian Arricchio's name was also misspelled. It's Aurichio. So if you could correct both of those, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so my motion to approve items 3A through D will include the clerical changes you just heard.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
I would just like to add that the Park and Rec Commission would like to thank Roman Alder, Dr. Alder, Robertson's Jewelers, and All American Waste LLC for their generosity. They had 4 donations again for the holiday decorations around town. So I know you all from the council saw that, but just so that our public who are with us tonight know that there were monetary gifts given for that to them. And the
Yep.
Sullivan Farm received a lovely vintage 1939 Farmall tractor as valued at $4,600. And that was, I guess, a anonymous donor. Just so you know, people are brightening up our town.
Yeah, Katie, if I might, and I'm just saying that is an awesome gift. That tractor
Sure
that
is.
that's amazing, and not to leave anybody out, but I think Gentile Tree was also in that Parks and Rec donation. So thank you to them.
Who?
Gentile Tree Care, weren't they in there as well?
No, these 4
Number
were
4.
Well, the way I have it is All American Waste and Robertson's.
Oh,
and
sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry.
It's okay. Okay, so moving on to item number 4, we have a COVID update from Dr. Jeremy Levin.
Dr. Levin? Mike, can you unmute Dr. Levin?
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Levin. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to the council and yourself, Mayor. Good. So I have 3 topics, but I'd like to just start off by complimenting the council for the pre-registration form that you've put in place. I think it is really terrific. It's easily understood and will help considerably when we start to distribute vaccines. So I think that is extraordinarily well done. I was going to take the time this evening to briefly update everybody on 3 topics. Number 1, all of these are questions that people have posed to me over the last couple of weeks. Number 1 is on the variants, and what are those, the new COVID variants? Number 2, there's been some talk about how half doses may be given out and why that, and is that effective, and why people are doing that?
Bad idea.
And number 3 is the J&J and other vaccines. What other vaccines are coming along? And of course, if there's time, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I want to start with the variants. In a pandemic, one of the real problems is the more it spreads, the more the beast mutates. And it tries to do this all over the place. It's a natural viral event. If you had a pandemic of flu, you'd be seeing mutations in flu. If you had a pandemic of COVID-19, you'll have changes in the gene. It's a natural process. Right now, you've heard about probably the ones that have come from the United Kingdom, the ones that come from Africa, And in the last day, there's another variant coming from Japan. So there are many variants swirling around. There could be many others. The characteristic of all of these variants is that they make the virus more contagious. And essentially, the virus is adapting to become more efficient. Now, this is important because what's happening is it's changing the shape of that red spike. And it's that little red spike, which is essentially what all of the vaccines are targeting. Well, the good news is that to date, the evidence is very clear that despite these changes, the vaccines are actually effective against these variants. Now that's good news. Now there is a concern, and this now we'll get to the half doses because of this in the sequence. There's a concern if you let this pandemic continue to run wild, there are other kinds of variants that can occur, not just ones that are contagious, but ones that are more virulent, more dangerous. Already bad enough, and the speed of the infections are picking up because of these variants. Southeast London today is under complete lockdown with huge numbers of people being infected by the new variants. So why the half doses? In fact, in Great Britain, they've actually gone to the half dose. They're giving not 2 doses, they're giving you 1 dose and then another one 3 months from now. So do we know what that does? The answer is yes. It looks like that both with the current 2 types of vaccine, Pfizer, Moderna, and possibly the one from AstraZeneca, that it conveys the first dose after a week to 2 weeks conveys about a 50% protection, not a 95%, but a 50% protection. And the British government has made the calculation that they must bend the curve of the pandemic by spreading out and giving as many different doses, as many people the doses that they possibly can. Here, that's not yet been determined to be appropriate, but if the pandemic continues to spread, I would be not surprised to see people giving out 1 dose and then waiting a while, but ensuring that many people get vaccinated so we can start to bend the curve of the pandemic and stop more of these variants occurring. So they're linked, the variants, the half dose, and the spread. And in addition to which, there's good news. J&J enrolled by the end, about December, in the middle of December 17, about 45,000 people. And the results from that trial should come out on January 21. That's a 1 jab vaccine. Kind of similar to what we saw in the AstraZeneca vaccine. J&J is also going to try a 2 jab, but they seem to be pretty confident about 1 jab. It's very stable, it doesn't require refrigeration, and they've committed by the end of the year to produce up to 1 billion United States doses. The United States is committed to buying 100 million of them and up to another 300 million. No, sorry, another 200 million. That's their. So by early February, if that vaccine proves to be effective, and we'll know this, as I say, on January 21, you should expect to see that start to roll out in the United States. So on the vaccine production, that will mean then we have at 2 which are approved, Pfizer, Moderna, those are the mRNA. They both require 2 different jabs, 3 weeks roughly apart, cold chain. Then we'll have J&J, which doesn't require a cold chain. It's kind of a regular vaccine. And then following on after that, we are fully anticipating AstraZeneca submitting data to the US regulatory authorities with the same concept. Now, we all know about the problems about distribution. I'm not going to go into them, but I'm happy to answer questions. The bottom line is, we understand about the variants. We must bend the curve, and taking 1 dose is a way of doing that. And although that's introduced in the UK, it's not yet introduced here. And then the good news is we have J&J, an absolutely blue chip company like Pfizer, who's going to roll out. I'm crossing my fingers for the results on the 21st of January. There's no reason to believe that it should be anything other than positive, because they're all targeting exactly the same thing, that red spike. So I'll stop for the moment, and that was a brief report, but happy to answer any questions if it's appropriate, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely. Chris?
Yeah, thanks. Dr. Levin, thanks for coming on as usual. So this is maybe a stupid question, but on the half dose, when you say it gets 50% effective, does that mean it lessens the severity of the virus by 50%, or you have a 50% less likely of contracting the virus?
Chris, thanks for the question. The reading that I have is that there's 50% less chance of contracting the virus.
Okay.
And normally the two that we know solid, the three that we know solid, one from Great Britain, two from the United States, they get up to 90% plus of prevention of infection. So it's a substantial reduction, but it's, the view, particularly in Great Britain, is that they must bend the curve.
And then secondly, I know across the country, different states have had real issues in distributing the vaccine, and some appear to be unfortunately going to waste. But from what I've seen and read, I think in Connecticut, we're doing a pretty reasonable job. Is that an accurate assessment?
Connecticut is one of 4 states which is actually on the top of the list for the best in this. And so you are right, Chris. The bottom line, though, however, is that it would be super good for us to have centers of vaccines where we could actually get it regional vaccination going and make sure that we can do this in a fashion which is organized, which is why I was so complimentary. And I think the council needs to take a bow on this one by getting the registration going, because it is going to come. You will have regional vaccination centers, and it's going to be important to know who's going to go first. Having said that, I would also like to just make a point, something about your comment about vaccines going to waste. That is absolutely unacceptable. The fact of the matter is, if you have a piece of paper that says black and white, and this is the tier, and you don't have the ability, because there's nobody in the tier that you want to give it to people. I don't think a single doctor could say otherwise. And I'm surprised that there's been any wastage because of that. There just shouldn't be.
And then just one last thing I would like to point out to the council and the public, that and why we're so fortunate to have Dr. Levin here and with us. I see that he's been named one of the top 10 leaders of biopharmaceutical leaders in the world. So we are so fortunate to have you. So thank you.
Hey, Chris, I am very fortunate to be in Milford. What a great town. Are you kidding? 33 years and I love it. So thank you for that. It's very kind of you.
I think we got the better end of the deal. But...
Yeah, I would say so.
Thank you, Dr. Levin.
Yep. Mike?
No question, Dr. Levin, thank you. You answered my question about getting the vaccine out, making a regional access, which I think is just such a great idea. So thank you for all you do.
Mary Jane?
So, hi, Dr. Levin. I have a question just going back to the, 50%, coverage after the first dose. Is there any data, and maybe it's too early yet to see, is there any data of people coming down with COVID between the first vaccine and then the second dose that's 2 to 3 weeks later? Is there any studies coming out about have people contracted it during that period, and what is the severity of the illness after just the one vaccine?
So Mary Jane, this is a super personal question because my 95-year-old mother, who is in West London, is one of those who is in that cohort and is being studied.
Okay.
She had her dose. She has to report back regionally, and her local general practitioner is studying her. She told me today she felt like a lab rat, but She was happy to get the vaccination. And she said, I'll take 50 if that can't give me 95.
Mhm. Well, it'll be interesting to see what comes up with that. I mean, I agree that the curve we have to bend that curve. It's exploding exponentially across the world, basically.
Sure is.
Katie?
Thank you.
Oh, Mary Jane, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Just
you, Mary Jane.
a quick
Katie?
question. So, Dr. Levin, if we go to the one shot, obviously 50 is better than nothing. Does it mean that we would never bother about getting a second shot, or would, as the vaccines catch up, so to speak, would we then, let's say it's 3 months later, 4 months later, would we then get another shot, or we stay at one? What do you think?
Katie, my view is that we shouldn't be going to the one shot as much as I believe it's essential, though. If we can avoid it, we should avoid it.
But if we had to do it, in other words, to reach out to more people,
yeah,
what would be the result? Is there a clock ticking that if we don't get the second one by X time, we have to start the process again?
Yeah, that's most other vaccines where you require 2 shots. That is the case.
Right.
What you'd be hoping for by doing the 50% coverage is that you'd get to some form of reasonable herd immunity, and then the chance of getting it would be lower.
Right.
But almost certainly the bug is not going to go away, and so we're going to you'd have to take a 2-shot later on. There is no evidence, however, to say how long these vaccines last.
Well, that was my next question. So it really might be necessary regardless of whether we get 1 or 2, depending on how long the efficacy is. So
yes, that is correct.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Dr. Levin?
Oh, I just have one more, and that's about the South African mutant. I had read that it wasn't so much about, whether it was going to be more communicable, which it is, but that possibly the vaccines, because this attached differently to the spike and did different things, that it was not going to be, that the vaccine was not going to be effective against it.
Mary Jane, no evidence of that. In fact, to the contrary. So the evidence is a series of studies where they took the blood from people who'd got the vaccination and put it against these viruses in petri dishes. And what they saw, and they compared all the different viruses, they compared the different strains. And what they saw in the petri dishes is categorical, that the current antibodies that you raise in your blood from the vaccine are effective against the current variants. Now, if it keeps on mutating, that could change, but the reality is that that mutation changes the shape of that red little spike. And if you have one mutation, you get one little kink. You get 2, you get another kink. You get a third, you get a third kink. Eventually, that kink becomes unrecognizable by antibodies. So, but right now they all look like they are recognizable by the antibodies that you raise when you get the vaccine.
That's good to know. Let's hope it stays that way.
Dr. Levin, along those same lines, if you had COVID, are they showing that you still have antibodies to fight off the new strains?
Mike, I don't have an answer to that. Nobody has told me that. I guess the only way you'd find that out would be to take blood from somebody who had it and test it out on the viruses. But I've never read anything that tells me one way or another that one.
Thank you. One last question. If you do get a variant where antibodies don't recognize it, the mRNA technology, does that give them the ability to come up with a new vaccine much more quickly to fight a new variant maybe?
Yeah, 100% certain. And my betting, and I haven't yet spoken to them because I want to talk to both the companies who are doing this, is that they have the sequences of those variants right now, and they are already building the vaccines around them because they know with an mRNA, you can make that vaccine in 3 months. So with all the manufacturing capacity that they have, all they need is that sequence, and then they can start turning it out.
Great. Encouraging.
Any other questions for Dr. Levin?
Just thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Real
Thank you,
pleasure.
Doctor.
Thank you again, Dr. Levin.
Okay, now moving on to regular business, down to item 5, move to accept the appointments of Board of Finance, Diane Clafe as filling a vacancy. Her term would be January 11th, 2021 through November 30th, 2021. And Ray Jankowski as an alternate, replacing Diane Clafe. And his term would be what she had, which December 14th, 2020 through January 31st of 2022. Then our
Second.
go ahead, you want me to do them separately? Okay, got a
Yeah.
second, go ahead.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Wait,
Aye.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
yeah, when you're breaking them down, you mean each group? Because I'd like to.
Next, I will do the nonprofit subcommittee.
No, yeah, I was gonna split a vote for the proposed Board of Finance.
Well, I don't know,
Do them separately, do the names separately. That's what
I
you're
guess if you'd like, I'll redo my motion. Move to accept for the Board of Finance Diane Clay, filling a vacancy, term January 11th, 2021 through November 30, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Move to accept Ray Jankowski as an alternate, replacing Diane Clafe, and his term is December 14th, 2020 through January 31st, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. Also move to accept for the nonprofit subcommittee, the appointment of myself, Walter O'Connor, and Sharon Ward for the term of January 11th, 2021 through April 10th, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
And I just want to say that, as usual, we have so many people who volunteer their time in this town. Thank all of them and these names come up a lot on here, so thank them for volunteering.
Concur.
The dream. Item number 6, move to accept the Parks and Recreation fee schedule for 2021. You all had that in your packet.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah.
Dave?
Well, I still have these concerns about the fees for our parks that taxpayers' dollars built, and then we have to pay to get into, particularly with senior citizens. I asked that at budget last time. It seems that it's approximately $6,000 is what I was told. And I think for our senior citizens that, our park should be free, period. It's just the right thing to do.
Mike, can you unmute Dan Calhoun?
Dan, you should have, there you go.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Dan, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So Councilman Lawson had a concern on the fees, especially to seniors. Can you talk about that and how it went through the Park and Rec Committee?
Yes, there was quite a bit of discussion with the Park and Rec fee and budget subcommittee, and then it went to the total commission, a 7-member commission, and they felt that we should continue to charge seniors just slightly the $20 fee. They're not going to raise it, but they felt strongly that we should keep it at that level, just because we've been asked to increase revenues, and it's at this time revenues are down due to COVID. So we felt we should leave it but not increase it.
When you say asked to increase revenues, who asked you?
We've been asked quite a few over the past few years to increase our recreation and park revenues by council and Board of Finance.
Well,
Jane? Sorry, Dave.
well, in the last 5 years, you've had a balance on your budget in excess of $6,000. So again, I don't see why we can't provide a service, particularly for our senior citizens. Quite frankly, I don't think we should have a fee for our parks at all. I mean, I have a national park pass, and it's $80 for every national park in the country and national monument. So if you look at it that way, it's a little out of whack.
Federal government can print money. The town of New Milford can't.
No, but we do have a healthy undesignated balance too that could easily absorb $6,000.
Yes, well, that comes up for just
Mary
about
Jane?
everything.
Hi, I understand, that, they need to cover their programs and everything, but I just think at this time with COVID, and we're going to still be in the depths of COVID, obviously by the summer, that I'm really opposed to any raising of any fees right now for anybody. Like if families got several cars, and I know why they do this, but, there should be like one pass or they should each get a sticker for however many cars they have with their license plates or whatever. But I don't think they should be raised right now because of COVID. I just think, people need a break right now. They're having enough trouble. We see the lines for food that are wrapping around buildings. I think this is not a good time. And as David said, the town could kick in money from the undesignated fund if the Park and Rec needs that money. And I don't have a problem with that. I think that might be a really good solution.
Katie?
Yes, I just, as a member of that senior population, I understand that that's a comment made often, but I want to point out a couple things. Out of 19 line items here, 13 of them are exactly the same. 2 of them went up $5, 1 went up $10, and 1 went up $25. That's for the pavilion rental. And if you look at, for instance, a resident day pass, it is a resident day pass was $15 for several years, and it stayed at $10 for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. None of these increases are gargantuan, and we do need to have some income from our parks because otherwise we can't have the programs that we have. We wouldn't have the staff that we have. There are maintainers. I know that everybody on the council and most people in town, if they've listened, know that it is very expensive to maintain the parks that we have. And I think if you don't maintain them, then people definitely won't want to pay any money to go, even if it wasn't a cost to it. So I think they're reasonable costs. The only thing that went up anymore, $50 was the boat slip, which, that's someplace that we were underpriced for a long time. So while I do understand the idea of wanting to keep things affordable for everybody, including seniors, people with children, et cetera, I still say that in the time of COVID, where we might not want to be there every single day as we used to, $10 or $20 to take your child a couple of weekend days on a nice weather is not a lot of money for a senior. It's gone down. So $10. I mean, we ought to be happy that we have a park for them.
So as someone who's fast approaching being a senior, and I do appreciate the desire to make things free or more reasonable to seniors, but I think it's already reasonable. And if we don't, and really if we waive a fee, what we're really talking about is we're just transferring the burden somewhere else. And I always hear a lot of talk about the undesignated funds, and while we whether you want to term it healthy we are within guidelines of where we need to be. So we don't have excessive undesignated funds. So to keep our credit rating and keep our interest rates, loan rates low, we need that undesignated fund. So, so if we waive it for seniors, then it's going to go over, all seniors and all taxpayers are going to have to pay that. And I don't know that's where we want to go. So, and raising the boat slips, I think was good because we were way under the market rate for what you've got around Candlewood Lake. So I'm happy with the work that the Park and Rec Committee came up with. So I would support this fee structure.
Hey,
Chris, Dave?
again, if you look at the budget balance for the last 5 years for Parks and Rec, it's been in excess of $6,000. And I have no reason to expect that that's going to be any different this year. And if it is, then yes, I think we do have a lot in the undesignated fund, of which $6,000 is easily found. If that's how we want to treat seniors, then fine, but I can't support it.
Mike?
I think we do a pretty good balance of having the town subsidize a lot of our parks and other things, but having a slight user fee so that people that do use it help support it also. To me, it seems like a very good balance. And just because we have extra money in one fund or not, there's a lot of different things we could take money to pay down. But I think that the balance we have right now is perfect.
I just want to say, I think, in my opinion, you're just missing the boat. It's about the people in the town that are standing in line and, they're down at Pettibone and the cars are wrapping around the building, and everywhere you look in the state of Connecticut, people can't even afford to put food on their table. So how, if they can't afford the food, how are they even going to afford a fee for the park? I just think in this time of crisis that the town should step up and cover whatever the cost is for Park and Rec. I'm not saying every year, I'm just saying this year.
Well, Mary Jane, I understand the argument, or there's the comment, and it is just January, so perhaps we can revisit this. And if our undesignated fund, which is mentioned to fix all problems, so that's why I kind of chuckle, because it's not enough to fix every problem that it's mentioned in, but maybe we can do something about funding for of some sort for people in that position, because I understand, certainly I see those people and I know what you're saying, but the Parks and Rec went through this, they didn't do it lightly, and I think I'm in favor of saying that they did a good job of it, and we can always, it's our place, if it comes up and we find that the COVID is a little lessened and people are really finding the only thing they can afford to do is go over to Lynn Deming, then maybe we talk about it. People can tell us, they don't have any problem speaking up, and we're here to listen.
Well,
I leave that door open, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, I'd just like to say along that line, what about using maybe some of the money from the sustainability fund? Is that a possibility? Just a thought.
That's up to us. That's up to the fund. But like I said, we're still in the cold weather, so maybe we can revisit this.
Pete?
Dave?
Thank you very much for your comments, Katie. I appreciate that. I just wanted to mention too, earlier in this year, we had a horrific storm in which we had a lot of branches and trees down and things like that. And I congratulate the Department of Public Works, who did the extra cleanup as a service to the town. And if I remember correctly, it cost an extra $15,000. But I guess what I'm getting at is these are services that we're perfectly capable and should provide. And I'm hearing this, well, we can't afford 6,000, blah, blah, blah. A senior citizen is not a boat, period. Okay. And we want to promote, we were just talking about the Greenway and things like that. And we have these spots, but we close them off to our residents by means of fees.
I'd like to move the question, please.
Thank you, Walter.
We had a motion and we had a second, and
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you.
Mary Jane?
I'm abstaining.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Okay, item number 7, move to put an additional $27,000 of funding to the Water Witch to complete the purchase of the Rescue 22 fire truck. The funding line would be determined by the finance director.
Second.
Second.
Okay, and we have Chief Squires. Chief, can you kind of give the council a brief update? Can you unmute Chief Squires, Mike?
What's his first name?
Richard?
Gotcha. Here you go, Richard.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council.
Evening, Chief.
Yes, over the last couple of years, our Rescue 22, which is a 29-year-old truck, is slated to be replaced. As we were going through the budget, or not even the budget, but going through the steps to look at possible vendors of building this truck, we had a number of $380,000 that was in our capital fund. As we went out and looked at proposals, most of them, all of them came in at over 400,000. The 3 companies that bid, the lowest bid was 411. The highest bid was 460. Some of the reasons for this is obviously costs are going up. A few years back, we did not allocate more into the capital fund for the 3 departments. So that's where the shortfall came from. The apparatus that we're looking at came in at 412. After working with the vendor, we had that price down to 406, which still left us approximately $27,000 difference from what's in the capital fund to purchase the truck. We had the proposal back in October, the end of October. Time we went through it and picked our choice and met with the vendor and got an official contract. It got to the holidays. We sent it to our lawyer for review of the contract, and the purchase price was guaranteed until the end of last year. After going back and talking to the vendor, we were able to secure that price of 406 until the end of this month. So we have not signed the contract. You know, $25,000 to $27,000 is a lot of money for, as you know, we're a volunteer organization. The last couple of years, we did purchase a lot of equipment for the 2 new vehicles. As you know, we got the new aerial. There was a lot of purchases there to bring that up to standard so we can meet the FEMA grant requirements. There was some equipment on there that was that we had never had before, but we had to buy to meet the FEMA requirements. Also, with our other engine, there was some equipment. Again, we were replacing a almost 30-year-old truck, and some of the equipment on there was 30 years old and needed to be replaced. And then the year prior to that, the department spent roughly $34,000 on a new boat. As you know, we have one of the largest parts of the lake and also the Housatonic River. And that boat was to replace a boat that was a rowboat from the 1970s. So approximately in the last 3 years, we spent around $80,000 between our boats and equipment for these other 2 pieces of apparatus to bring them up to what is required of the NFPA and DOT standards. Also along the lines this year, as you know, with COVID, that kind of hit us real hard with PPE costs, testing costs. Our number for PPE equipment, you know, whether it be masks, gowns, which were very hard to get in the beginning. You know, cleaning supplies every time a piece of apparatus rolls out. When that truck comes back, the whole interior of the truck is wiped down. All the touch points are wiped down on the outside. Any gear that was used, any equipment that was used off that truck is wiped down to try to stop the spread of COVID within the department. To give you an idea, approximately about a month ago, we were hit with about 12 members that were exposed on a call to COVID. A couple of them did come back positive, and the rest were in quarantine or came back negative. Every time we send somebody out, we don't send them to a public facility testing. That would be in Waterbury, Danbury, because the wait times are so long. We are working with one of the local doctors here, and there are costs associated with that. Before tonight's meeting, we had spent roughly $7,000 on cleaning supplies, protective equipment, whether it be gloves, masks, cleaning supplies. And then again, tonight, adding up the numbers, we spent roughly another $3,900 just on testing within the last month to keep our department up and running. So at this, go ahead.
Tom?
So, Chief, I read some of the specs and everything. So this truck, the shortfall of 27,000 puts you over the top, so we can get this truck secured.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
This is a very basic truck. As far as bells and whistles, it's basically a big toolbox on wheels. Yep. We're going from our current piece of apparatus is a walk-in. We're doing away with that because we've noticed over the years that that's not something that is feasible or needed for this town. So it's going to be compartments on both sides, and then in the middle of the truck, there will be a slide-out compartment for some of our longer pieces of apparatus that will be easier to access. Again, you know, we're trying to look at this as a truck that's going to be used in the town for the next 20 to 30 years. You know, again, the biggest costs on the truck are our generator. You know, we're going more and more to what we call e-tools for the Hearst tools and stuff. So that was actually a savings building this truck. If we went in with the traditional hydraulic tools, we were looking at probably another $50,000 to $55,000 in Hearst tool pumps to be mounted and installed on that. So we are saving money there. It does have a light tower on it. We do have the generator, so if we are on the scene for a prolonged time, something like the drowning where we're using portable radios, cellular devices, or other equipment that needs to be charged, we'll be able to charge that right on scene.
Yeah. No, I'm in full support of this. I think this is a necessary piece of equipment that just let's make the investment, make it now before the price goes up. As you said in your description earlier, this has been going up about 5% a year.
Yes.
And right now we need to keep our volunteers and our community safe. And I support this 100%. Thank you,
too.
Chief.
Thank you.
Me too. Thanks a lot. Rich.
Hey, Chief, Chris, I just want to make sure I understand correctly. I think the 380 just came from pricing this out a while back.
Yeah.
And costs have gone up since then. I know in my business, material costs are going crazy, and prices are going up based on scarcity of material. And
yeah, the 380 is what was in the capital fund. The capital fund, as you know, was started about 25 to 28 years ago. A set amount is in there. I have been working with the other two chiefs to increase that. This year, I believe the amount deposited into that is 350. We've actually looked at a plan where we will have smaller increases over each year instead of larger increases every 3 to 4 years on a 5 to 6% increase for the apparatus that's coming up.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, look, I know, I mean, you guys, you're volunteers in every way, shape, or form, whether you're walking into a fire or trying to budget capital equipment. So I appreciate everything you all do, and quite frankly, you all are a treasure for the town, and you're a bargain. So I'm fully supportive of this.
Thank you. And also, as you know, with COVID this year, you know, our fundraising was down. We did do one chicken barbecue. We were unable to do our roast beef barbecue and another chicken barbecue. We did one late in the year working with the health department, which, guided us very well to have the chicken barbecue with these times.
And again, still really good.
Yeah, thank you. And again, as I see, many of our members are already got their first shot. Many are getting it within the next week or two. But who knows, it could be June or July before we see any real normalcy. I know other departments that have like fairs and stuff, they're already talking about canceling because it's just getting late in the season. So, fundraising again this year could be an issue for all the departments.
Drive up barbecue.
Hopefully.
Can we take a vote,
Yeah.
Pete?
I think, Mary Jane, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I just want to say I support this 100%. Not only do you risk your lives at fires, but with COVID out there too, it's another risk to your lives. And I really appreciate everything you do. And I mean, I'll give you anything you want, whatever. Come back.
Remember,
You got it.
remember that you said that, Mary Jane.
This is a family show.
All right. So we had a motion and a second, 2 seconds actually.
Second.
Yep. Dave?
Yeah, I support this too. Again, as in when we were talking about Parks and Rec, I see this as a service to our constituents and the residents of New Milford, something that you shouldn't have to pay a fee for example. Can you imagine that? A fee for the fire department? Anyway, I think we should support this 100%. My concern is not on the fire department's part, but what line is it going to come from? This to be determined is a little bit, vague for me.
Isn't that the way we set it up so that we defer to the finance director to determine the funding line?
Yep.
So that it does
Yes, we
come
did.
from the best place?
But I'd like to know what the best place is. I mean, certainly we have some sort of idea.
Well, I'm sure he'll let us know.
Okay. I believe he's on tonight.
I don't know if he knows now. Oh, is Greg with us?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike, can you open up Greg Ossipow's line, please?
I'm here.
Greg?
Yes. I'm planning to take it from the unemployment compensation line.
Okay. There we go. Thank you.
There you go. All right.
Thank you. Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you,
Please thank
Chief.
the men. Please thank the men and women for all their efforts
Absolutely.
each and every
Please.
time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Chief.
Stay safe. Moving on, item number 8, move to authorize Mayor Bass to execute the tax abatement deferred agreement approved by the Town Council on December 14th, 2020, pursuant to the Code of New Milford Statute 19-44 et sec, relating to the following taxpayer property, and that would be the property at 46 Kent Road, owned by Distinct Storage of New Milford LLC.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Whoop.
3 opposed. Any abstention? Thank you. And Katie, before we go into executive session, I'd like to do mayor's comments.
I wondered if you were gonna say anything.
No.
You got it.
Thank you. Thank you to the council and thank you to those that are watching. So first, I'd like to.
Excuse me, point of order.
Yes, we're gonna suspend the rules to add to the agenda, Dave. You beat me
Second.
to it.
Thank you.
The motion, I second it.
Okay, everybody.
Any
for the
discussion? All those in favor of adding this to the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. I'd like to talk about the Capitol riots. For those that chose violence, looting, and vandalism last Wednesday at the Capitol, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The actions of these violent protesters is completely unjustified and unacceptable. The blatant disregard for the people's house is both appalling and un-American. Our brave men and women in the armed forces have sacrificed their time, talent, and in some cases their lives for this great country and the Capitol that it represents. The First Amendment is a key component of our Constitution, but when that devolves into destruction of property and loss of life, it no longer is free speech, but thuggery, and it must be stopped in its tracks, no matter where it is. As a country, we need to pull together to tackle issues that are facing us now and into the future. From COVID-19, businesses struggling to survive, unemployment, income, wage gaps, food insecurity, looming evictions, mental illness, drug addiction, child isolation, and the list goes on. By working and pulling together, there's nothing we cannot achieve. We have proved that time and time again, from putting a man on the moon, defeating polio, and now a vaccine for this hideous virus. We can and will persevere as the greatest nation on earth. With that being said, I'd like to move to the COVID numbers as we talk about each time we're here at council.
Pete, thank you very much for that statement. I think as a whole, we could have had a resolution that stated the exact same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. For the COVID numbers, I'd like to give you the totals so far, and these are by no means how many people currently have COVID, but they're the confirmed numbers that start in March. So that being said, the state of Connecticut now is at 201,124. Litchfield County is at 7,881, which is up 239 from Friday. Hospitalizations are at 22, up 8 from Friday. New Milford is at 1293, which was up 36 from Friday. As we tell all of our citizenry, we are understanding that we're in the peak, so to speak, between now and the end of January. So we're asking all our residents to please wear a mask. Keep your 6-foot social distancing. Use hand hygiene protocols, meaning get underneath the spigot as hot of water as you can, a minimum of 20 seconds. Make sure you get the soap underneath your nails and up to your wrists. If you aren't near a spigot, please use hand sanitizer. If you are elderly or a person with underlying conditions, example, diabetes, pulmonary or heart conditions, please only go out if you have to. If you're exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19, please do not go to work or go to school. If your symptoms continue, please call your physician and please get tested. Please check on the elderly and family and friends. It's very important, especially during this time where we're seeing a peak both globally and nationally, continued numbers going up. We're having PCR COVID testing again in partnership with the state on the 15th at Pettibone, and then on the 30th at New Milford High School from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. These are free and they're PCR testing. Because of normally they're 48 hours to 72 hours, but with the demand statewide, it may take a little longer than that. So please be patient. As far as our vaccine update, in speaking with Mike Crespin, we continue to have 1A, which is healthcare personnel, long-term care facility residents, and medical first responders. For some, getting their first vaccine, setting up the appointment. Once that is completed, then they'll move to 1B. Also on the same track with 1A is long-term care facilities, which are being done in partnership with CVS. On the 1B, they're finalizing who is going to be in the 1Bs, but the vaccine advocacy to the governor are saying individuals 75 and older, frontline essential workers, individuals living in congregate settings. When we found that out, especially for the individuals 75 and older, we've put out a pre-application form for our seniors, which allows us to get the valuable information we need to begin to set up appointments when the state authorizes us to do so. The more that we can be efficient, the better it will be to getting the vaccine into our seniors' arms. And we'll have more information as that comes forward. We're also working in partnership with the VNA when it's coming to distribution of the vaccines, as well as CVS for the long-term care. New Vance also, and the state of Connecticut. And we'll have more information as this is still fluid, especially for the 1B population. We'll have more information to you as we come forward with that. I'd also like to let you know, as we all know, Mike Crespin's retiring the end of February. So I'm pleased to announce that we have hired Lisa Morrissey to replace Mike. Big shoes to fill. Lisa's experience, she was the former health director for Bridgeport. Former health director to that, she was the director in Danbury. She's an adjunct professor. She also has a master's in epidemiology, environmental health science. She also holds a BA in psychology as well. Her start date is on 1/25, which is a town council meeting, and Lisa will be at the next council meeting to introduce herself to you, the council and the public, and answer any questions that you may have. We're very excited to have Lisa and all of her experience join the team here in New Milford. I'd also like to thank Tim Clark and John Wilkerson for their efforts in raising over $22,000 for a fuel bank. For those that don't know, Tim and John, they're the ones that put up the National Lampoon Christmas decorations that they have there on Sunny Valley Road. And they did a wonderful job really spearheading this effort and really making sure that our fuel bank has substantial funds. And with this $22,537, it's extremely helpful. So we'd like to thank them for that. I'd also like to thank Chief Ceruto, the New Milford Police Department, Officer Rodriguez, Sergeant LaFon, and K9 Kira for the arrest of drug dealers that were stopped on Danbury Road. Chief Ceruto and I are wholeheartedly in agreement that we will not tolerate anyone selling drugs illegally in New Milford. We'd like to thank all the men and women of the New Milford Police Department for all their efforts, both in drug addiction and keeping our town safe. So thank you for their continued work. We'd also like to thank, as we've all said just a few moments ago, all of our first responders, our DPW team, our medical staff, our paraprofessionals, our teachers, our administrators, our lunch ladies, facilities on both sides, all these people working day in and day out during COVID. I've been there, seen it. Just amazing work that these people do selflessly. So thank you to them. We begin the budget process. So there's two budgets, as we're all aware, but those that may be watching to give them an update. So there's two budgets that the town will vote on. One is the town side and the Board of Education side. Next Tuesday, the Board of Education Superintendent DeCorpo will be unveiling her proposed budget to the Board of Education. The Board of Ed will then hold their hearings, and after their deliberations, they'll send it to the mayor, the town council, and the Board of Finance for their review and adjustments. On the town, currently we're meeting with department heads to formulate the budget on the town side. That will then go in tandem with the Board of Education budget to the joint meeting of the town council and the Board of Finance. Each of those bodies will then review and make adjustments if needed. After that's completed, we'll then go to the public so the public can answer via referendum. I have sent a letter to Representative Buckby and Senator Minor and asked them to advocate for allowing us to vote, as we did in the national election, to vote in a referendum this year. And I'll have more information as we move forward with that. Building committee, or the building team led by Mr. Murphy, continues to see a lot of activity for the first half of this year. They were able to do 1,633 inspections. They were also issuing 1,508 permits. So they've had an outstanding 6 months. And according to Mr. Murphy, they're still continuing to be busy even during this winter. So that's great news for what's prognosticated for future economic activity. So thank you to Mr. Murphy and his team. Also speaking with Jasmine and the Senior Center, they had some additional numbers that I'd like to share with the town council and the public. As of 12/30 that week, they were able to serve 67 clients and provide 87 services to those clients. The buses had 124 clients, 470 rides. They've done 90 lunches to the seniors, and we have 50 seniors using the food pantry. Again, they are also part of the team that handles the community fuel bank in tandem with our social services team. So I'd also like to thank Jasmine as the director and Ivana, who runs the social services team as well. Also concerning library construction, just an update, the contractor continues with ongoing foundation work. They've been working on the elevator pit and are looking to do some steel erection in the middle portion of the library. So we're excited about that project as it continues to move forward. It's an 18-month process, but when it's done, it's going to be a state-of-the-art library that we all can be proud of. Plenty of community rooms, plenty of things that are going to be both digital and for you to come in and enjoy this wonderful library. So I'd like to thank the Library Construction Committee, the Library Board of Trustees, as they continue to move this project forward. Also, our town hall roof. I was speaking with our grant writer, Tammy Reardon, and we did receive from SHPO our $100,000 grant for the town hall roof, which will also be a tin roof, as what was originally proposed many, many years ago. And that work hopefully will begin shortly. Now that we have this, we'll be taking that out to bid. And I'm probably assuming, knowing the contractors that want to do it, probably in spring or early summer. And I'll have more information on that to you, to the town council. And that's all I got, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now our item number 9, I'd like to move that we go into executive session, and we'd like to invite attorneys DeBella, Tower, and Brian Lastra to join us.
And Katie, could we also invite Greg Ossipal, Finance Director?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
All those in favor of going in executive session?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Mike, can you put us in a different room?
Yes, so I've just about finished building the breakout room. It is called NMTC Executive Session. So when you guys get your invites, that's what to look out for. 2 things. Do we know if John Tower is in here?
I don't know if he's there, but Randy,
Yes,
there he
John
is.
Tower's here.
JT, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He's there.
And Randy's right next row, right there. Next.
All right, and the last thing is I can't actually enter the, because I'm the host, I can't even possibly enter the thing. So I'm assuming you guys are handling both of this in the one breakout room, both A and B in the one breakout room.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, and if Katie, if you don't mind just hanging out until I can get everybody in to make sure we got everybody in there.
Sure.
All right.
Is this an email invite, Mike?
Come
No,
right up
you
in
guys
front
are
of
going
you.
to get, you guys should get a notice right now.
Click on it.
Did that motion
Join.
pass, by the way?
Yes, unanimous.
Okay.
Yes, it was. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
Stephanie.
That's right.
Tom, did you get one yet?
I didn't see anything yet.
Let me see. Where is Tom?
He's up.
Dave, I should have gotten you, right?
Dave Lawson, Walter, and Tom, and myself. I have mine in front of me, but
Okay,
Yeah,
Tom?
Am I in another room now, or am I in the same?
no, you're still
for-
with
maybe,
us.
There we go.
maybe the invitation, that maybe I just didn't get you on the list.
There
Okay.
he goes. Okay.
All right. I have in there
Walter.
Lastra, Chris, Dave, Greg, John Tower. You're invited. Mary Jane, Michael Gold, Mike Nahom, Pete,
Got it.
Randy, and Tom.
Got it. Thank
All right.
you.
See you on the other side.
Bye.
All right, folks. Town council has gone into executive session. I'm just going to get a slide here from so that you guys can be aware of what's going on. They will return from their breakout room when they are done with executive session. If I go back to here, they will return to the meeting to discuss the pending litigation and any possible action which might take place. And that is the last item on the agenda. Sometimes they do allow for public comment in the end if that so arises. It doesn't happen very often, just so people are aware. And then that will close the meeting. So I have no idea how long they're going to be in executive session. This could be 30 seconds. This could be 30 minutes. So I'll put up that slide now, and I'll have some music going so you guys, some non-copyright music going so you guys can know that nothing's going wrong here with the stream itself. So here we go.
Mike, nice music.
Turn it down.
Hey, thank you.
That's better.
Is everyone back? I think I see everyone here. Mayor,
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
here. Mike, Michael.
Couple of you guys are
Chris.
muted.
Walter, are you with us? Yes, you are. No, Walter Bayer.
No, I don't see Walter.
What happened to Walter?
Oh, man, he had no shot at getting out of that room back into the, on a phone.
So we can't have a motion to adjourn ever.
Oh,
I'll take over
Okay,
for
so
Walter.
I'm moving,
Oh, yes, we
moving,
can.
excuse me, moving to return
Thank
the
you.
council to regular session. And we'll
Second.
state that there were no motions made, no votes were taken.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 10, move to I just have to think about this for a minute. Let me move item 10B first. Move that we engage special counsel to defend the town's interest in the lawsuits titled Ralph Birch v. Henry Lee, Town of New Milford et al., and Sean Henning v. Henry Lee, the Town of New Milford et al., in U.S. District Court.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay. Item 10A, move that we approve the tax appeal titled Still v. Town of New Milford pending in Superior Court, Litchfield Judicial District at Torrington, including possible settlement.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Any abstentions? Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Go Bama.
Opposed?
All right. Good night,
Take care,
everybody.
Roll Tide.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Aye.